I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I am Marty Levinson. I deal with media bias issues against Israel. I hate it, and I want to cut it right out.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned to the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet hope, Chicago. 2 is 4, 4 4 6. Come on, baby, now get your business fixed. Come on, honey, don't you wanna go?
Thank you, Marty. Abby Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org. Over 1/3 shows, community policing, caps24.org, and Sonny Hirsch in his spare time is chairman of the District Advisory Board of the 24th District. We would like to let you know that we're going to be covering a lot of police stuff over the next few months without the election. And, I'm not very happy with what's going on in the city. And by that, well, you know what? This is not the segment. You'll watch the show. You'll get the gist of it. It is a pleasure to have on once again the standard bearer for Stand With Us, which is a nationwide movement, but in particularly Chicago. But she travels all over the country too. And that is Peggy Shapiro. Peggy, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. What are some of your latest endeavors? Mm-hmm.
We are trying to bring facts into the conversation about the Middle East, and that is a huge challenge. And a lot of times people have their minds so firmly made up that they don't want to be bothered with facts. And so that's where we come in and try to challenge useless stereotypes by bringing in someone. For example, we just had a campus tour all over the country. And by the way, we're an international organization. We have 17 chapters, including India, France, Israel. But to get back, we brought in this young man, Mohammed Sowabi. He is a Muslim, Arab, Israeli, who at the age of 15, when there was a Gaza war, posted some pro-Israel sentiments. Says, I'm an Israeli and I want the IDF to protect me. His aunt is a very powerful member of the Israeli Knesset and extremely hostile to Israel, which is a point to make about Israel, that even if you're very hostile to Israel, you can be on their governing body of the Knesset, which is like our Congress. His aunt did not care for his posting favorable to Israel, and so he found himself really running for his life.
Literally.
Literally. We're not talking about kids who want safe spaces here. I'm talking, he needed...
Yeah, he needed to get out or die.
Yeah, he needed a very safe space. So he ended up in the home of Kay Wilson, who was a woman who was a victim of a Palestinian terror attack and just barely got by with her life. And he found out about her, and she took him in. Now, it's a few years later, Mohammed is 18, and he's working for Stand With Us. And he just did a national tour speaking to his contemporary 18, 19-year-olds on college campus and say, here, I'm an Israeli. This is one face of what Israel looks like. And here's how Israel's protecting me, and Israel's giving me a voice to say whatever I want to say. And that made a big impact on campuses. It's not your typical speaker, but his message is quite powerful. So that's an example. We're reaching out to try to educate people, introduce facts, introduce different perspectives, different ideas. We're great believers in education. And we're great believers in diversity of thought and critical thinking. Unfortunately, I'm a retired college professor, and I've seen that too many times the narrative is what's important. What's your narrative rather than what are the facts? So people buy a storyline.
Sure.
And they accept the storyline as opposed to the reality of facts. And when the facts interfere with their storyline, then they're uncomfortable and they don't change the story, they change the facts. So we're trying to get in between that process with young people. And in fact, 5 years ago, we started working and educating high school students. And this year is our first pilot year where we're doing middle school education.
You know, this is so important. And in the aftermath of the election, and I'm not getting political here one way or another, but I want to tell you, especially having been a member of the press most of my life and having been involved in political campaigns, I get to see how the political propaganda ministers work, whether it's Axelrod on one side or Ari Fleischer on the other side. And the thin lies or stories that don't have enough credence to normally be published that are making the regular media and the newspapers is unbelievable. The stuff that they're telling you can believe doesn't have much of a leg to stand on at all. And this applies to so many subjects, it's not even funny. When you read the news or look at the news, you have to be skeptical. You have to have more. It's best to have more than one source. It's best to keep your ears open. It's best to have your brain clicked on to common sense.
And it starts by teaching students basic history and critical thinking skills so that they can't hear a story and just fall for it because it's the most appealing emotional story. That is not so easy. It's not a component of a lot of our educational systems. But our education is not only for students. Students are a very, very big part of our focus. But there are a lot of people who need to have the facts in order to do their jobs right. And among those are legislators. And states across the nation are realizing that their own economies are threatened by the boycott, divestment, sanction movement against Israel, because there are a lot of state contracts where they do joint ventures in medical research, in water purification, in clean air. There are many, many joint ventures, and these bring jobs to the U.S., and these jobs will be lost if the BDS, the anti-Israel people, get their way. So states...
You know, you bring up the water thing just now. I was reading about what Steve Zuckerberg of Facebook did.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're talking about technology, a desalinization plant, which means basically you can take seawater and make it drinkable. And even though Israel is in somewhat of a drought stage of the last couple of years, there's plenty of drinking water because they're using the desalinization. And now states like California.
Oh, they're helping California.
Right. And
Israel's helping California.
Exactly. And Arab countries, too, are welcome to avail themselves of that technology and help solve their problems.
Israel is taking their water technology all through Africa, where there are some serious problems with the cleanliness of water, the usability of the arid climate, and so on. And they are saving scores of lives. I saw one new piece of technology. It looked like an enormous fish tank. And it was self-sustaining technology that you didn't have to open the tank or feed the fish. There was an ecosystem that it developed, and it could feed an entire village for a year without doing anything, and this would keep sustaining itself. This was a source of protein for people who had not had protein in their diets for a long time, and it saved lives and certainly helped prevent many, many illnesses. So this is just one way Israel helps.
And not to mention the fact that almost any time there's any kind of international anything, if there's anybody you can depend on to be there to help people.
California fires, Israel was there.
California fires, Israel was there. The Haiti problems, people were there. Even when there's problems in Arab countries, Israel does help out if they're able to.
You know, Israel was helping some of the Yazidis, and about 2 weeks ago, this is tangentially related, but 2 weeks ago, a Yazidi woman who had been rescued and was so grateful to both Israel and the U.S. for her rescue, named her baby Trump. So you have a Yazidi baby that's named Trump. I found that very funny.
That is.
But but the education component cannot be underestimated. If you're in a dark room, what is the best thing to do is light a candle.
Right.
And
Well,
that is what
Eleanor
education.
Roosevelt always used to say, it's better to light one candle than to curse the darkness.
Exactly. And so we have our candles out there, matches going, and we're lighting the candles. And we do see a lot of aha moments. And if I have time, I'll give you
Sure.
one that was great.
Yeah, you can see you got time.
We have this young man, Sebastian Perauer. He doesn't mind that I mention his name. He was president of the student body at the University of Georgia. And he was originally from Colombia. His family had to evacuate Colombia because of the drug cartels at that time, and he ended up, and he's a real smart fellow, and it's a student with a big heart, and he wants to do the right thing. He heard all anti-Israel bias, anti-Israel comments. He really became hostile to Israel and hated the IDF. A year ago, we started offering trips to Israel to non-Jewish presidents of student bodies. And he said, okay, I'm going to go to Israel. I'm going to take pictures on my good camera here with all the apartheid and come back and expose Israel. When he got there, it was nothing that he expected. In fact, he saw diversity in people of all colors. He expected all Polish-looking white people. That's what he said. He said he saw such a diverse range of people. He talked to them. He talked to people in the IDF. He completely changed his mind. And then when he came back to school, started posting pro-Israel messages. And
Nice.
nice. He got threats to his life. So we helped him out. We got him through it. He graduated. Sebastian was hired this summer to be the Midwest campus coordinator for Stand With Us, and he is training Jewish and non-Jewish students how to be activists for Israel.
Cool. By the way, he's invited on the show if you'd like to have him on at
You
some
would
point.
love him. I would love to have him
Terrific.
come. Yeah.
No, that sounds great. See, that's the kind of story I really like to hear, because I'd like to think the truth will out, but I'm too big of a student of history to know that that's going to happen without a lot of help and a lot of prayer.
It's not going to happen by itself.
Never does.
You need an army of activists, an army of people to get out there and educate people and use a variety of techniques. You can't, you can't always walk in the front door. Sometimes you have to do education to the side door, back, get to people with what their own interests are and explain how being allied and supporting Israel is the only way, if we're going to have a chance for peace, for children, Palestinian and Jewish children to have a chance for peace, is only through education, and a real education, not the hate education that we see in so many parts of the Middle East.
No, there's no question. I mean, people need to understand that so-called Palestinian children, and I'd still like to hear what the national anthem of Palestine was, basically are taught from, and in other Arab countries too, are actually not just taught from an early age that Jews are demons and all the rest of it. Their cartoon shows, like their Sesame Streets, are basically give up your life to, go be a suicide bomber and go kill.
Well, you know the story about Farfur, their Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And Farfur, they had a cute cartoon, kids were watching it, and an Israeli agent on television came and murdered Farfur, Mickey Mouse. Well, imagine how the kids feel when Mickey Mouse gets murdered in front of them by Israelis. So it's a lot of indoctrination in the Palestinian official media. Even their crossword puzzles, if you look at them in Arabic, have anti-Israel messaging, even in crossword puzzles. So we've got to counter that. And once they start giving their children real hope for a future, real education, and want to sit down for peace, we can have a chance. But in the meantime, we are getting out and trying to educate every community, from Hindu to Yazidi, Christian to Jewish, all denominations, so that people are armed with the facts.
And if people would like to contact you and arrange for a speaker or to be whatever, where
Chicago at standwithus.com. Chicago at standwithus. It's all one word,
Right.
standwithus.com.
right, and she's also got an active presence on Facebook, among other things. Peggy Shapiro, I'd like to thank you very much for being here and for
Thank
helping
you
educate
again.
us.
Thank
And we
you.
look forward to seeing you and your new fledgling in the near future.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.